Hi there and welcome to module 3.7 Webhook overview. Now in this video you are going to discover how to set up a webhook with your autoresponder. Now if for any reason if you don't see your third-party tool, your autoresponder integrated natively with Clever Messenger yet, or you simply don't want to use Zapier or Integromat, or you don't see your autoresponder integrated with Zapier or Integromat as well, then the webhook might be a good solution here as well. Now again, this might seem a little bit daunting. Now for some reason the word webhook scares people. Now I was one of them before, but then I figured out how to read documentation, and to be honest it all comes down to that. If you can read and understand how to read webhook documentation, API documentation, it all makes sense, and you are going to see how extremely easy it is once you know what to look for. To be honest, that's it. So without further ado, let's hop in right away. And just like that, we're inside Clever Messenger again, and in this little video you're about to discover how to set up the ask for email address flow with the webhook card. Now this might seem a little bit daunting at first. I mean, webhook, code and all that stuff, but it's actually quite easy once you know how to read developer documentation and how to use that documentation in order to set up the webhook card. Very, very easy stuff. Now all you need to do in order to start the process, we are going to click on the cogwheel right here, going to dashboard and going to flows right here. There we go. And this redirects us to the flows manager. As you can see right here, I've created a webhook card overview, and I'm going to open up that flow by clicking on the action button and clicking on edit. This redirects us to the flow composer. And as you can see right here, again, it looks similar to the other ask for email address flows we have created thus far. The only thing that actually changed is this card. Now remember, for integrating our autoresponder natively, we use the ActiveCampaign integration card. Then in the video showcasing Zapier and Integromat, we replaced that card with an action card that would add a tag to the subscriber. And whenever a subscriber was tagged, we sent that data over to either Integromat or Zapier. And all we need to do in order to make the webhook setup work is simply replacing this part with the webhook card. You can actually find the webhook card right here in the bottom under actions, right here. And you simply drag and drop it to the canvas. And I will do that right now so that you can see me setting up the actual webhook card. But let's first check the current setup out. There we go. Now obviously in this specific card I blurred some stuff out, like my account name and the API key. But that shouldn't be in the way of this overview. Now as you can see right here, we start this card with a title. We can choose between 4 request methods: get, post, put and delete. For this specific purpose we need to use post, and we have a request URL provided by ActiveCampaign in this case. And they need us to provide a header for authentication, in this case the API token with my API key. And we have chosen to go with the raw format type instead of the form data. Very, very easy stuff. The request is actually that bunch of code right here. And again, this might seem a little bit daunting, but all we are actually doing is setting this snippet of code with the placeholders right there. And those get replaced by the actual data of the subscriber. And that data is added to your autoresponder, your webinar platform, or any other third-party tool you wish to connect through a webhook card. And that's all there is to it in order to send an email, first name and last name, to our autoresponder ActiveCampaign. And let me just show you how easy this is. Let me first close this up and open up this card so you can see me build it from scratch. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to the ActiveCampaign developer documentation. There we go. Right here we are already in the right section. Let me just go up right here. There we go. So this is the developer documentation for the autoresponder we use, ActiveCampaign. And what we want to do, we want to create a new contact in our account. So we are going to navigate to the contact section. There we go. Click on it. And we want to create or update a contact. There we go. Now again, I imagine that if you're not tech savvy and you're seeing all this stuff, you're like, what the hell do I need to do right here? And I get that. You see all this code right here and it might seem a little bit daunting. However, it's all about understanding how to read documentation. Right here, we already have everything we need in order to set up a proper webhook, basically sending the subscribers' data to this autoresponder. Right here, we can see create or update contact. Yes, that's the action we would like to use. Right here, we see a small label, which is post. So I immediately go ahead and go to my Clever Messenger account right here and set this to post. Super simple. I navigate back to the ActiveCampaign developer documentation, and I can see that this is the request URL. So I'm going to simply select that and copy that, move back, and replace the Clever Messenger default URL and paste it in. There we go. Now what I need to do, I actually need to change this name, your account name, into my actual account name. Now for this part of the video, I'm not going to do that, but every other autoresponder more or less works the same thing. You need to specify your account name, obviously, somewhere in this process. In this case, it's inside the URL, and any respected application actually wants you to authenticate. I know for a fact that ActiveCampaign needs a header, and they want to receive our API token. Basically, our API key functions as a password. So once we actually make the call to this specific URL, the API key is in this case nothing more than the password that allows us to access that specific function. Again, for the setting up, I'm not going to do this right now. I'm just going to fill it out with a couple of access right there. I'm going to go to the developer documentation again and simply get this entire code and copy it. Then I navigate back to Clever Messenger again. I've already selected raw, paste the code in right there. And now we want to tidy it up. Now do note there's some other stuff right here like field values, field 1 value and field value, etc., etc. This is basically the custom field setup. This basically means that we can use this specific function to send over custom fields and their values as well. However, for this short little overview, I'm not going to set that up. So what I'm going to do in order to make sure that I am not breaking the code is simply selecting the entire code, copy it, and navigate to this website right here. It's called Jsonparser Online. We simply put in the code right here. We don't have any errors so far, but right now I'm going to delete this specific part. Let's see what happens on the right. There we go. It seems that we got some errors right there, and now we're just going to tidy up the code in such a way that it actually works. There we go. So right now we have this clean code right there. We also included the phone. However, for this example, I'm just going to delete that as well. Again, we get a little error. That's because of this little comma right there. So right now with this functional piece of code, we can actually select all, copy, and navigate back to the Clever Messenger app, get rid of all the code, and paste it in. There we go. Now all that there is left is basically replacing the email placeholder right here with the actual email custom field, the first name and the last name, and we replace those with the personalization text we got going on inside Clever Messenger. And all I need to do right now is simply highlighting these things right there and replace them with the custom fields and personalization text. Very, very easy. I simply delete this right here, navigate to the little dude in the lower right corner of this field, search on email, click on it, and it gets replaced. And there we go. So I skipped those other steps because it's actually a little bit redundant. By showcasing you how to replace one of those data points with a personalization tag or a custom field, I actually think you can actually manage to replace those others as well. And this is actually how it looks like at the end. This way we set up our webhook card. Very, very simple stuff. Frankly, the only way you need to understand is how to read developer documentation. Now, right now, what we did is basically set up the webhook card in the exact way ActiveCampaign actually wants it. So again, they want it to be a post with the request URL right here. We set that up, as you can see right here. The authentication part, let me just go to that part right here. And ActiveCampaign is actually telling us the API key should be provided as a HTTP header named API token. So we added the header, named it API token, and then we are going to add our API key right here. It basically boils down to copy and pasting. Then we go back to the documentation right here. We want to add a context, so we navigate to the context section. We are choosing for this specific purpose, we could either go for create a contact or create or update a contact. But I would like to have this option so that whenever a contact is already existing, using this specific action, we can also update the contact, making sure that there are no errors and that any additional data is actually forwarded to our ActiveCampaign account as well. Now, what we did is basically copy this thing right here, this piece of code, and we cleaned that code a little bit up using this specific app. It's called Jsonparser online. Just Google it and it's the first hit on Google. We put that code right here in a raw request at the bottom of this card, and we replaced those placeholder values with the actual custom fields we want to send over to, in this case, our autoresponder ActiveCampaign. Let me just save it right here. There we go. Now let me save the entire flow. Now I've already did my work right here in this Webhook card, and now we're going to simply do a quick little test of this Webhook card and see if it actually worked. Now, I'm going to close this up because it's the exact same card we have added right here in this sequence, in this flow. So right there, I'm going to save it. Awesome. As you can see right here, we got no subscriber in this account under the name Stefan Vandervlag. There we go. And right now, I'm simply going to go to the first card, open that up. Go to triggers and click on the m.me link to preview this. This redirects us to the Messenger app. And for this specific purpose, I actually cleaned out the entire conversation so that we have a nice clean approach, a nice clean preview of the entire setup. So we are starting with the get started button again. We're going to click on that. There we go. Now, once I actually click this, you probably think, okay, this dude is going to click on the get started button. Now, first, the welcome message will pop up. We are actually going to see the message tied to the m.me link we clicked. So there's a small hint right there. If you would like to send people another message in your chatbot and they are not subscribed to your chatbot yet, you can simply send them an m.me link and they get another message, and they get the message tied to that specific m.me link instead of the welcome message. So let me just go ahead right here and click on get started. There we go. We lead in this flow with that image. And we're going to leave our email address. And let's just also demo that lead magnet delivery flow as well. Yes, please send it. Awesome. All right, so let me just navigate back to my ActiveCampaign account. There we go. Let's just do a refresh there. And there we go. So we can actually see that this contact has just been added. So the Webhook card is functional and working. All right, cool. So now you actually know how to set up a Webhook card. Like I said in the start of this little video, it might seem daunting by hearing the word Webhook or code or whatever. But as you have seen, it's actually quite easy to set it up. Now, with that said, if you don't see your third-party tool, your third-party autoresponder integrated with Clever Messenger yet, there's two things you should do. First step is sending us a message over at support@clevermessenger.com and request your third-party tool to be integrated. And we make sure we get that integrated as soon as possible. To continue with this training, you can either go with the Zapier or Integromat integration and use that software, that middleware, as a conduit that sends data over from Clever Messenger to your third-party tool, or you can use the Webhook card in order to set up a semi-native integration, so to speak. If you run into problems with setting up your Webhook card, then also send a message to support. We are here to help 24/7. So for any reason, if your Webhook card setup doesn't give you the results you actually want, let's say sending a lead from Clever Messenger to your third-party application, then send us a message and we'll happily look at that Webhook card and make the fixes for you, and helping you understand the process a little bit more so that you can actually create those in the future yourself. And with that said, that concludes the Webhook card in this video. In the next video, you find a small roundup of what we actually discovered and learned in this module and a few action points you can take home. Basically, the action points are a summarized list that allow you to get a quick overview on what you actually need to do in order to complete this module for yourself.